What's up, beautiful soul family? Welcome to another Super Soul Sunday night session. And I've said that all kinds of thousand different ways, but the important part is that I'm here for this Super Soul session with my good friend and guest host, Miss Pamela Topjian of Breakthrough Hypnotherapy. Now, tonight I want to address our trans and questioning youth. I want to talk about, or we want to talk about the importance of mental health. We want to actually use this time to help lift up the soul and the spirit of all of us right now, as there is a lot of negativity happening in the world in all areas, but recently, especially for the trans community. So I want to help remind you how special you are. And that's for every human being, regardless of whether you're a trans human, whether you belong to the LGBTQ plus and IA communities, or whether you're just another beautiful human awakening to a world that is less about I and me and coming back to the place of we. We heal humanity through understanding. We don't heal humanity through fear. And it's very natural for us to fear what it is we don't understand. It has become very natural for us to make snap judgments upon the things that are different than our own experience. And that's why we keep seeing our violent history repeat itself. Now, I want you to know that whoever you are, and wherever you are in the world, and however you identify in any way, you are a beautiful human being, and you're so important. And Pamela and I tonight are going to do our very best to let you know exactly how important you are, and to help relieve some of the fear and the tension of what's going on in the world right now by just allowing our own lights to shine. And we're going to walk in the example of being the change we hope to see in the world. And I hope and I pray that each and every one of you will come along with us and be more motivated and inspired than ever to let your beautiful light shine. So if you all are ready to get into this amazing Sunday night soul session with myself, LC, your transgender mentor, and my amazing friend and guest host, Pamela Topjian, well, we're ready. So let's go. Happy Sunday, Pamela. Welcome.
Happy Sunday.
It's so good to have you here as always. I'm always so grateful to see your amazing face and have you to share this time and space with me. So, Pamela, we were having a quick conversation before we came on live, and you made a very valid point that it is our news and what we are all exposed to has become very specific to us, especially when we go through the internet and our algorithms watch what it is we're watching and send us more of that.
Yeah.
And so, there's been a lot. Hey, Tammy P. Um, there's been a lot in the news, especially, I hate to even be specific, but we got to be coming out of the great state of Texas. A state so close to my heart, you all could not even believe. I have a great history with Texas. I love Texas with all my heart. Unfortunately, we are having some very negative news that can be very scary, not only to the trans community, but to women as a whole. I took a trip with my mom this today and this evening, and we were just talking over how much that we are changing as a humanity, but just how much women have been through. People of different races and ethnic backgrounds in our country, in our world, and it just can feel like for every steps we make forward that when things like this come out, it can make us feel almost depressed to our edge, and I can imagine that there are some people in the world today with some very heavy hearts, um, and that's really what I want to focus on tonight, is especially for my trans community, and I want us to talk about children and hormone blockers and this big controversy over medicating children under the age of 18 that identify as trans. I not only want to talk to the general public about that and put away some myths and fears, but I want to talk to you as young people as well. Really want to dive into some things that maybe you should ask yourself about, because we as adults here know that there are a lot of things we regret when we go seeking an external remedy, which is happiness, to an internal job, basically. So, Pamela, you've recently become a mentor with the Trevor Project. And I would love for you to explain to us and our audience a little bit about the Trevor Project and what your new role as a mentor means to you specifically.
Well, I start my training actually in October for that. But the Trevor Project is a project for LGBTQ youth, which is they are not talking about just under 18, but under 25, because um, that is the highest suicide rate of people under 25 is of the LGBTQ plus community. Transgender is part of that as well. And I don't know the statistics, but I do believe, and I have to believe that more of those youth are transgendered than, you know, lesbian, gay, or bi, or any of that, mainly because transgendered children know at such a young age. And I have read of 9-year olds attempting suicide because they were not accepted. They did not feel comfortable in their body with their gender identity. Um, and it's just so sad that people would cut their lives out or want to cut their lives out or just not even want to be in the world at a time when you're supposed to just be having fun and learning about life in the world.
Yeah.
And so, what I am training for is to be part of the crisis hotline. So, I would be, have my shift, it's volunteer, but I would have my shift with times that I'm going to be on and ready to take these calls and these texts to help, these youth, these under 25 LGBTQ community that feel they're in crisis. And I know you've got the number going down for Trevor Project and also others. But yeah, that I'll be on the other end of that certain times, um, and I'm just I'm so excited for the training as well as being able to help these kids. But I there's always I don't think I'll ever nobody could know it all, and I have a lot to learn, and I think that it will help with just overall in my role of being a helper to others and being part of this community, this project here with us. I think that I'll learn a lot more that will also help me just overall for better understanding.
That's amazing, and to me that really lends itself to what we were discussing even before. Is
Yeah.
how can we go about letting our light shine in a world that seems so dim? And I think we must remember too that life truly, and the quality of our lives lies a lot within our perception. And we have a choice in
Yeah.
every moment how to perceive our life and our circumstances. And that's something that we fail to know sometimes until it's actually brought into our realities. I do remember being in active addiction and in recovery, and absolutely remembering that moment when I found out. I mean, at 30 plus years old, that's how long it took me to find out that my life was my choice. My perception
Hmm.
became my choice, and therefore my happiness lived within that perception. And I spend a whole lot of my life, as you do, trying to bring that information out into the world. It sounds simple, but it is not a simple concept. That is
No, and
not the way we're geared.
I do feel like most people that ever do come to this sort of understanding or realization comes to it at a later age. Nobody not too many people realize this in their 20s or younger, or probably even in their 30s. You're most busy usually in your 30s and 40s, and when life kind of slows down a little when you're in your maybe late 40s or 50s, and you start to self-reflect on your life a little more, and you've lived through a bunch of stuff. Everybody by the time you're in your 40s and 50s have lived through a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah,
And
that's for sure.
and you come to, if you take that time to self reflect and go within, you will learn a lot more than you will just by listening to everybody else. Or you can get all the education, you can get, watch every single podcast and everything else, and still not really learn as much as you would from going within. And it really
Hmm.
just just really bothers me that nobody's ever taught this as kids. And I don't know if it's the same in other countries. I think that where Buddhism, or and I don't want to talk religion here or anything, but other religious, um, like the United States is very um, Christian, and other countries are too. But if we're taught to go within and to trust our inner self, and to know that we have inner guidance compared to
Mm,
just always seeking, seeking, seeking,
yeah,
and that lends itself to seeking outside for even material things. Or I need this guru, I need this, this person's master class, or that,
right,
because there's
right.
so many of them out there, as you
Oh
know.
my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And
Yes.
once you sign up for one because it sounds like just what you need, then you get a million more in your timeline and your feed, however you get that feed.
Yep.
And
And
you realize.
do you ever feel, or your insight on this, it feels like we're always seeking, because no matter how many of those, like you said, no matter how many of those master classes we sign up for and take, it will always sound like exactly what we
Right.
need. And then the next one will sound like what we need too. Because a lot of times we take that master class and we come away still feeling empty with the
Yeah.
question. And I guess the biggest beautiful advice from that is, if you're still finding yourself empty, 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 that's like an amazing time to know that the answer's probably
Right.
98% it
Hmm.
within you.
Right.
And Tammy has I think Tammy has a great comment here, and I'm going to show it on the screen.
Okay.
And I think it's true. She says we have to teach and show them that they're okay. They're taught too much that it's not okay. That's so true. Watching my
Yeah.
granddaughter be depressed and then seeing her brighten up when it came to light finally allowed her to be herself with acceptance. And that goes with a comment that Tammy is a beautiful human and is a great inspiration to me anyway, has been for quite a few years. I mean, I can almost cry thinking about how much Tammy affects my life. But my granddaughter is dating a trans human, and because of what you make aware, teach, and taught me to be able to completely embrace it. It's a beautiful
Oh,
thing.
nice.
She's 16 and used to be so depressed, and
Mm.
to see her smile and happy is amazing. That, my friend, is a parent is a grandparent when it is truly about the health and well-being of the child versus how is this going to affect me? How is this
Mhm.
going to make me look? That's the majority of what's happening when we have so many LGBTQ plus children and youth and humans of all ages out on the street because of family rejection. So much of it is simply because this has never been in my awareness. I don't understand. This reflects bad on me. What will my friends think? What will my church circle think?
Mhm.
And it's not about us. And it may be hard. It very much may be hard. We all have dreams of what we want our children to be. We mold them before they even come into the world. And I know from my own experience, it can be very disheartening. I lived so much of miss my own youth in not being able to experience, my head and my heart and my body matching. I tried to live that through my son. And there
Mhm.
was so much anger and resentment that I found myself unknowingly having towards him because he wasn't acting out the things that I thought, I always believed, well, if I had what you have, when I was your age, I would be this and that and this and that. I mean, basically to say that I'm nothing now, I mean, we can take so much from that whole thing about self-worth and how we see ourselves. And I didn't realize how much of that anger I was placing on him for
Yeah.
something he could not even understand. He didn't have that contrasting experience to
Right.
understand what I was saying to him or what I was trying to live through him. And it wasn't his responsibility to do so.
Right.
And so I think that when we say that we love our children more than life and we love them unconditionally, prove that when it's tested in not only finding help for this young person, but do get your own help as well. I mean, we're
Mhm.
often taught, even in addiction, when we have children that suffer with addiction, and Pam, you understand you've had some addiction in your life, not you personally, but family members,
My
people you
family.
love.
Yeah.
When that happens, sometimes we fail to realize that we are also affected and have trauma and need to know for ourselves how we can best be there and love and be healthy for them as well, for ourselves. So we don't often run out and get help for ourselves. We focus
Right.
in on what we think the problem is and say, this person needs all the help.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know from my own experience, when I let my family know about the cutting that I was, destroying my body because I felt like it was destroying my soul. And immediately, hey, Mary Huffman, um, immediately in that, I was told there's something wrong with you up here. You need help, not we as a family need help. It's
We need help.
you.
Yeah. We're a
Right.
family unit.
We're a
We
unit.
all work together. We all have
That's
grown
right.
up together.
That's right. And
Yeah.
imagine how including that would make someone feel.
Mhm.
You know,
Absolutely.
what you've been saying is so important to me, and I think that it brings us right into the whole controversy about young people being medicated. And I guess my message first and foremost for the young people, which is what mostly goes along with what we've been talking about, is please understand that number one, transitioning is hard. It's so much harder than just becoming who you think, who you feel like in your, in your dreams, in your vision time. There
Yeah.
is not a quick pill or shot or surgery available, and there's a good reason for this, because this would honestly make there be so many more cases of transition regret if we were able to do things like that. Nothing that inherently changes us and heals us from the inside out is quick.
Yeah.
Same with recovery from addiction. It's not quick. There is no quick fix. But what I am asking you as a young person to do is not place all of your bets on being happy when you transition or when you can start your process. Be willing to be patient. And if you don't have a family that's accepting of you in your identity, then let me once again put this number up, because there are people in this country, in the world, that have set themselves up to be available for you to help you through this process. Um, the Trans Lifeline actually is run by trans people and offer mentorship in that, organization. Get a mentor, be mentored, because this is not an easy process, regardless of what age you are. And on either side right now, unfortunately, whether you're an adult or you're a child, there are people in this world that do not understand you. They do not understand what you're going through. And there's always going to be some type of opposition right now. And you got to be able to stand with that. And you got to be able to hold on and love yourself through this process. And people like Pamela are very important in this world because they are cisgendered. Cisgendered meaning they are absolutely at home in the body that they were born in. Nothing else. That's what it means. Pamela is a cisgendered woman who says, how can I see a problem in the world or see a situation, see other human beings hurting? How can I let my light shine in the help of healing that? Pamela, absolutely as I am, knows that we can't change the whole world in one phone call, but
Yeah.
it doesn't take tackling the entire world or the entire problem. It takes standing up where you are. And I'm proud of you, Pamela, and I'm grateful. And I pray, because there are some beautiful humans in this soul family that are just like you. And I pray that some of this information that we're given here will help them to be ignited to say, maybe I didn't realize I could help in this area because I don't relate in
Right.
that way. You don't have to. You just
Right.
have to have a heart for another soul. And
Right.
so, Pamela, is there anything as a mother, as a mentor of other, of so many healing modalities, is there any advice or anything that you would give any of the youth that are locked in this place of transitioning, you know family not
Well,
support?
I think that there's a false expectation that, like you said, if oh, if only this, if only that, if only I could look a certain way, be a certain way, even if I could only be true to myself, and people are going to then accept me. Whether it's true to yourself or hiding who you are, whatever it is, there's a false expectation that, if you're not popular in school or with your peers or your family even, does not accept you, the answer is not anything to do with how you look, even if that's what is coming at you.
Mm,
Even if they say, we don't accept this about you, and so you do your best to hide that about you, that is not going to make them like you or accept you anymore. But what's most important, and I can't stress this enough, and it takes so long to learn this and really get it. But what's most important is that you you accept yourself, because you're never ever ever going to please everybody, and you have to please yourself. And once you live fully within yourself, authentically with yourself, regardless of the outside world, that's when you're going to know. It's definitely not like, we've said several times, even talking about awakening process and everything, it's not all then going to be the world is, rainbows and peaches and whatever,
Right.
and roses.
Right.
But you will feel the best when you, even if when you're working on stuff, which you're always working on stuff. There's no answer to not be working on stuff.
That's true.
But but
That's so
life
true.
life continues. But yeah, just always be true to you, and don't hang your happiness or hang your acceptance on anybody else, including your family, including your
Yeah.
family. And it's not just, you're not alone. It's not just the LGBTQ community. It's not just the recovery community. There's all kinds of things that people, children and adults, go through that make their family, their closest loved ones, still not accept them.
Oh yeah.
And you just have to, I say just have to, like it sounds so easy, but but go within, self-reflect, do the internal work. Those hotlines are not there for, as a replacement for therapy. They're there
Correct.
for crisis mode, or if you
Yes.
just need somebody to talk to. You don't have to be suicidal to reach out. If you
Right.
just feel in
Great
crisis,
point.
or you're anxious, or you're unsure, you're
Great
just at
point.
this angst feeling, reach out to them if you've got nobody else. I see so much on social media, and it just really gets to me. you know I'm always there for my friends. You can call me crying in the middle of the night and I'll be there. Well, let's leave that up to the people that have been trained how to handle those situations, not put that on your friends. You know, Not that it's awesome to have a support system, and it's
It
important to
is.
have a support system and to have
It
friends that
is.
are there for you,
It
but
is.
use the hotlines. I've had people say to me that, well, there's people that have it worse than me and I don't want to tie up the lines. There are people all over the country on these lines, and they have shifts for, there's like going to be, they know the numbers of how many people on average call at a certain time from a certain place, and that's when they put these people in these places on these shifts at these certain times. There's enough people for you. And you know if you're in crisis, regardless of if you're suicidal, you know reach out
Yeah.
to these hotlines. That's why they're there, and you're not going to put anybody else out by not reaching out. If you by reaching out, if you feel like, my problem isn't bad enough, or isn't I'm not suicidal, and somebody that's suicidal might call in and I'll be on the phone. There's enough of them. If you're even thinking maybe I should call, then call. That shows you that, yeah,
Right.
you should. um,
Yeah.
But also, we were talking about how that's not a replacement for therapy. Your awesome friends and support system are not a replacement for therapy. And there are
True.
so many kinds of therapy. There's, not one thing fits for all. And so many people have said, I've tried this and I've tried that and it just doesn't work. Or they say, well, I tried counseling, it didn't work. So they feel like they've got nothing left,
Mm-hmm.
or they feel that money is an issue. There's always ways to get around it, and if you're not getting the answers that you want, seek elsewhere, or
Yeah.
ask them, do you have other resources? Um, it doesn't hurt to ask. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Well,
that's
keep
all.
looking. Yeah, I mean it's beautifully said because you got to keep looking. I mean, it was the same
Hmm.
way in for me coming into the recovery process. One of the things that we're taught in recovery, not enough, but I can't stress it enough, is to try to get out ahead of things. Don't
Yes.
necessarily wait till you're in the middle of
Right.
the trigger to begin
Right.
having a battle plan for that trigger.
Yeah.
And it's the same for, I think what
So
Pamela's saying
important.
is, don't wait until you are at your very end thinking that, you're not important enough or your problem's not big enough. Because basically what that is that's fear within you, and that self-worth saying, well, I'm not important enough, and I don't know if I can be vulnerable. It's scary to me to be vulnerable, so I my problem's not big enough. And
Yeah.
then, eventually it does get big enough. And
Right.
what happens if it is too big for you to handle? I know I've been in those situations where it was much too big for me to handle. And I've been in those situations where I have reached out and not gotten what I necessarily needed. And for many years after that, made a very rash decision, and almost a deadly decision, that because this one time didn't work out, that all of those entities
Right.
were the same. And I put myself through, countless overdoses, and countless suffering, because I made this big decision, because that's what really wants to happen. We can always go back to how the brain and the conscious and subconscious work in everything. When you are filled with fear about, if I reach out, this person's, they're going to shut me down, or I'm going to get hurt. And our energy is wrapped in that fear. The likelihood is that may be exactly what we attract, so that vision can come true, so that what the conscious brain and subconscious knows, as we're afraid, because we're afraid of change. We don't like change. Its job is to keep us safe, meaning same, routine, everything's the same. So if that begins to be our fear, and it's so big inside of us that we latch onto it, that is the energy that we are putting out. And we will find that. What we seek, we
Mhm.
find, regardless of what it is, whether it's gratitude or negativity. If we seek it, we're going to find it. And then in that moment, guess what? We don't have to reach for that change anymore, because the subconscious says, see, I told you.
Mhm.
See, I told you. It wasn't going to work. This was going to happen.
Yeah.
But aside from our feelings being hurt, let's really ask ourselves this question. I lived this. That's why I'm asking the question, because I had to ask myself this question. What's the worst thing that happens if I call a stranger on a crisis line and tell them my issue, and they don't maybe respond to me the way I wanted? What's the worst that happens? I feel bad, but I can still move my fingers. I can still pick up the phone and dial another, and I can dial another until I find what is connected with me. I had to do that for recovery.
Mhm.
I had to do that in counseling. I've had to do that with hypnotherapy. I've had to do that in so many places in my life. And if I would not have sat down and asked myself that question, is it going to kill me? It's not. Is it going to feel uncomfortable? It is. But I will live to dial the phone again. And eventually, if I keep seeking, I will find what is aligned and matches with me. And I just want to say, give yourself that opportunity. I don't really care where you are, or what frame of mind, or what how you identify today, whether it's with addiction and recovery, or whether it's LGBTQIA plus, whether, doesn't matter. Whether you're going through post traumatic stress disorder, whether you're a veteran, whether you've, just come out of some of the biggest health crisis we've seen in many, many years. It doesn't matter. You're not rating your problems are not rated on a scale of 1 to 10 for
Right.
severity like the emergency room is. That's a different situation.
Mhm.
You are important enough to triage yourself, to say, this is important enough to me, and I will continue to seek out and find that. And the same, for the youth. I know for young people, things seem a bit more hopeless in a lot of
Mm.
situations. You feel controlled. You don't really have
Right.
maybe the openness or the ability to keep calling out. But I've yet to see many young people, teenagers and young folks that do not have a cell phone. It's pretty
Right.
normal. There
So much
are,
easier now. Yeah.
yes,
For them
the
to
Trevor
reach out on their
Project.
own. Hmm.
Absolutely. And the Trevor Project has chat lines and they have text
Yes.
lines. And
Yes.
there is actually the National Suicide Hotline has a
Yes.
text line that is, if you text the letters LEV to 741-741, you can text in that crisis. And the Trevor Project has that stuff as well.
Yes.
And we will put it in the description of the video when it's posted on YouTube. And don't be afraid to use these resources
Yeah.
and
I have
use
used
what's
these
there.
resources.
Yep, I have too. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not
And
ashamed
it's
to say it.
and it takes incredible strength to reach out.
Yes, it
So many
does.
people feel that they'll be looked upon as being weak or that they can't handle something. But, guess what? Everybody has been through something that they feel they can't
That's
handle.
so true.
And it
That is
takes,
so
and,
true.
the harder it is to reach out, the stronger and more empowered you will feel after you do.
Yes.
You just take that one step for yourself. And you can't compare pain. You can't compare, like you said, there's no 1 to 10 pain, pain level, of a broken leg or a severed leg compared to a scratch. Mental health is not like that.
It is not.
If you know how you feel inside, if you're even thinking, I need to reach out to somebody, if you're even thinking, this is too big for me to handle, or I don't know what to do next, go by your own internal, like you said, your own internal sort of scale, and get above it. Like you said, if so many people who reach out, you've been there before, you've been through these panic attacks, through this deep suicidal, feelings and deep depression. If you can get yourself to step back once you get over that and feel that, know where is that line of, you know, the point of no return kind of a thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Great
get up
point.
on top of that before it gets too bad instead of rolling with it. You feel a little bit and you just go deeper and deeper into that depression or that anxiety and you just roll with it and you let it take you, just like, like a snowball going down the hill. It's just going to
Yeah.
increase in size with the momentum. If you can step back and do something, whether it's, put an ice cube in your mouth, jump in a cold shower, go outside, rub your hands with salt underwater, do something that like snaps you out of that. And it's not going to be a cure all snap you out of it, but enough to make you step back and look, oh, I don't want to go down that road again. I don't want to go
Mm,
down that hill again, and maybe I need to, this is still happening. Maybe I do need to reach out, and I don't know if, and I will learn as far as the Trevor Project, but I don't know if these hotlines have other resources. If they have, where you're calling from, okay, so here's other resources for you if the person on the other line feels like they would like, to have some information for
yeah.
counseling or therapy. Also, I want to mention, if you are in therapy and you are in counseling or any kind of therapy, it doesn't mean that you can't call. In fact, that's when
Yeah.
I had utilized those hotlines the most, is between my therapy sessions, when I was having panic attacks, and high anxiety and deep depression, all of that. You start out in therapy and you're usually going for a year or more. It's not, depending on the therapy, but you know those hotlines can be very useful to get you through, those rough times in between your sessions, regardless of the type of therapy. They're not
Yeah.
just for people who don't have any other resources.
True, and also create a program that is right for you. Don't
Yeah.
just, if you're in therapy and you're feeling like, okay, well it's working some, but I'm still feeling this way, and you feel like you need to look into medication. Well, do those things together. Don't be
Right.
dependent completely upon just one thing. And we learn so much of this in the recovery process, is that you're not being loyal to this one modality of
Right.
healing if you create your own program. And when we talk about recovery here on the Transgender Mentor Recovery Soul Food, we're talking about recovery from many things, not just
Right.
substance abuse, because that again is a small byproduct of a much deeper issue. I'm talking about recovering your health, recovering your true self, like your human nature, which we are beginning to uncover now, because before we were just completely within the shell of what we are seeing life is supposed to be and who we are supposed to be. And the issue is people are waking up and saying, but wait a minute, I don't fit in that box, and I don't fit in this box, and I don't fit in that box. So what does that mean for me? Does it mean that I'm not human? Of course not. I'm human. I'm here. We don't
Mm-hmm.
always have to fit in a box. And if you're not able to check a box off, that says who you are and what you're worth, well, congratulations, because you, my friend, are
Are so
waking up in a
unique.
beautiful time, and that's right. And you're here for that purpose. And so I
Right.
do have a couple of messages specifically for, you know, certain people, my trans people. I need you to feel important. I need you to stop looking at, your identifying as transgender as a curse, and realize what a beautiful and amazing blessing it is. It may not look like that right now. It may not seem like that right now, but the world is changing, and you are part of that change. You are part of something much bigger than you can even imagine. I'm sorry, but in this world, in this country, gender has been far too important. Too much of someone's status, their abilities, their ability to think and do has been placed upon the gender. There is a superiority complex in this entire world that a lot of it starts. The first question of how superior you are is, what's your gender and what's your skin color? What's
Mm-hmm.
your religion? And we go on down and we go down. And just because you are coming out at a time where there's not quite a box for you yet, don't let that make you feel like you are less human than someone else. You, my friends, are far beyond what you can even imagine right now. So I'd like for you to hold on to that hope, and to start to look at yourself in the mirror at least 5 to 10 times a day, and remind yourself how special and unique you are. And that maybe you don't know where you fit right now, but who says you need to fit in the current boxes of society? It's
Right.
time for us to wake up. The same for my youth. My youth who feel the exact same way, and you're asking what's wrong with me, and you're asking why is this happening to me, and why can't I just snap out of it? Because you're not supposed to snap out of it, because there's nothing for you to snap out of. You're a beautiful and amazing and unique human being. And for those of us with a beautiful, special, valid calling, life is not going to be as cut and dry and as simple as maybe you see it for other people. But remember, you're not necessarily seeing the whole picture when you're looking at other people either. Please remember that. In a society where social media is more normal anymore than 24-hour news, we need to understand that we cannot know someone's real life and
Right.
circumstances in 1 minute videos, hour podcasts, whatever. So do the same mirror exercise. Get in the mirror and remind yourself how blessed you are, because you are so unique, and that you are breaking out from the norm. And for my beautiful and amazing cisgendered population that show up here time and again to expand their hearts, and to try
Mm-hmm.
to really just add more to healing to humanity versus more controversy and angst. I love you. and I thank you. And we can't do this without you. We cannot move this uniqueness of humanity forward without you. Just like we can't conquer racism without white people, we
Right.
can't do this without cisgendered, heterosexual men and women standing up and saying, what right do any of us have to judge the Creator's plan? This is what society fails to remember when they are throwing Bibles and religion at people, as they fail to realize that they have stepped into the place of that divine being and they are making assumptions and hurting people in the name of a creator that has created us all. And
We're here
I
for a
just,
reason.
we are all here for a reason,
Hmm.
Pamela. All of us. And
Absolutely.
I can't imagine how one or any of us can feel superior to the next. I want to answer this question because Mary has a question. Let's answer this. It might be off of something. I have a question for the two of you. A young lady that I mentor slash coach decided to end MAT, which is medication assisted treatment. When she did that, they cut her off all her mental health meds.
Hmm.
I sent her a link to report the clinic and therapist. Is there anything else that can be done? Well, number one, I think you did the right thing in having her report that clinic,
I
because
think the
that does not
laws are
sound
different in different areas too, so it's
true.
hard to know.
Yeah, Mary's in my state here in North Carolina,
Okay.
and
Ah,
I know to to report that clinic is absolutely right on. I would suggest that we get some research to find her another place, even something as I think Hand of Hope is a place in our area that does some counseling, some free and sliding scale counseling, to get her through the gap, and also have her utilize different hotlines. Have her utilize these hotlines because there will be crisis involved, and I pray that she has I pray that she has was ready to come off of her MAT medications. I pray that she did it in a very healthy way. MAT is also very controversial. I
yeah.
stand firmly in the place that MAT can be an amazing asset for opioid withdrawal and treatment, but not when it's a dose and go. And those places are dangerous when we get people cross addicted. So I really pray that this young lady was ready to do this, did it in a way that is for her health. But I urge her to, before she stays angry and gets stuck on that victim place of a victim, that they did this to me while I'm trying to make a good decision, to go back to what we were talking about earlier and not making a snap judgment on all treatment centers because this
Right.
one did not do maybe what they were supposed to. And again, I don't know their procedures. Maybe
Yeah,
there's
every
something in
facility,
there.
every place is going to have their own
Right.
sort of, yeah, reasons that
Yeah.
they're doing things the way they
Right.
are.
Maybe they can't continue to provide. I mean, there's so many different,
Right.
there's so many different legalities now. I mean, there is no question that our healthcare in
Oh,
this country is very corrupted, and so hopefully in a lot
she
of
can
this we're going to change
ask,
that too.
did she ask them, do you have other resources for me? I think that a lot of places are paid for by the state as long as, the therapy is paid for as long as the medication is part of the treatment plan. And then once
Yeah,
they're not on the medication, they can't get treatment from there anymore. And I guarantee you that some of the staff there, whatever their professional, whatever their jobs are there, um, feel that this is wrong, and they
Oh yeah.
know that this needs to change, but they're powerless. It's a state thing a lot of times, or a county thing a lot of times, but they will often have other resources, and a lot of times even like a handout with multiple numbers or multiple places or websites or whatever to reach out to. So whenever anybody finds themselves in this situation, don't, stand up for yourself. Don't feel like,
Yeah.
oh, it's hopeless now. Ask them, get the answers. Do you have other resources for me? Because I would like to continue therapy even if I'm not on the medication. And if they
Yeah.
say no, say, well, do you know where I can get these resources? Do you know
Yes.
where I can find this information that I need? Stand up, ask, even if they are, they're acting as if you're wasting their time, or if they're rolling their eyes, or you know whatever, it doesn't matter. Stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
working for you regardless of if it's money out of your pocket or not. If you're there and you're their patient, or their client, it's their job. Maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe you're the fifth person that they've had to turn away, and they feel, they're feeling hopeless themselves. You have no idea.
We don't.
Get your own answers. Get your
Yeah.
answers that you're seeking. Ask for, where can I get those resources? If you don't have them, where can I find them? Because I am,
Absolutely.
an advocate for myself, and I want more treatment. Even
Yep.
without the medication, I know that I need more therapy. Also, you were talking about having, multiple things. Have a plan. Um, I had a client that said to me, well, full disclosure, she says, I am also seeking, Reiki, or I'm also going to counseling, or, and she was coming to me for hypnotherapy. And I said, that's awesome. That's great. I did not feel, and I don't think any counselor or therapist of any type would feel like there's anything wrong with that. We want to know
Yeah.
that you are serious about your mental health, about your
Yep.
recovery, and the more that you're doing for yourself, that's great.
Absolutely.
It's not like, you know,
Absolutely.
then we know you're not hanging all your all you putting all
Yeah.
your eggs in one basket or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the when when I went into treatment, and I went back to medication assisted treatment. I think I people didn't know how to take me in the beginning when I went into that program, because that's exactly how I went in. I
Mhm.
went in, said I am messed up. I've tried this many times. I've
Mhm.
actually been addicted to this. I've been in programs that have just done this, and they do the little counseling. I'm here for healing. I'm here for real counseling. So give me somebody that's going to do that for me. And trust me when I tell you, I didn't get them the first time or the
Right.
second time, because they don't know how to hear that or take that. Unfortunately, the majority of the people that walk through those doors are completely dependent
Mhm.
upon this program providing this medication, doing their due diligence to get 30 minutes of counseling or an hour a month, and just go on, just stay out of my business, leave me alone, let me do this. I've been that person, but this time I knew it had to be different, because I wasn't going to
Yeah.
live through another round of this.
Right.
So I had to go in and do just what you're saying. I had to stand up and say, and
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many, it's generally the nurses, the people on the front lines of this epidemic, especially when we're talking about, addiction recovery. It's the human beings on the front lines in the service that get the most agitated and aggravated and disheartened, because they are meeting with the humans. They're
Mhm.
on the level with the humans,
And
and
they
they're
see
not in
the
corporate.
emotion of the other
Exactly. And
rather
they're
than just
not in
paper.
corporate. They're not doing numbers. They're not just taking money. They are
Right.
the day to day contact with these human beings. And I have so many relationships with those people. I've had people leave the program that I was in, professionals that just say, I can't watch this anymore,
Yeah.
and actually apologize. I wish I could stay here, you know, Your recovery makes it worth it for me, but I can't
Hmm.
stay and watch the corruption. And I know that. And I have beautiful relationships with them outside of these treatment programs. They're beautiful people with hearts to want to help. So, Mary, I'm sure I know, who you're talking about. And, you know, it is perfect to try to keep her positive and full of hope, but remind her that what you seek, you will find. I don't care if you are an addict straight off the street. Advocate for your care, just like Pamela's saying. You're worth it. Your healing is worth it. Unfortunately, we are a prescription based, band aided society. We don't study the roots, we just treat the symptoms. And because of that, people get far too dependent upon medication assisted medicines because, like everything else in the world, I've got diabetes, give me the pill so that I don't have to change or heal. Give me the pill. This is the healing mode. This is the modality that we live under.
Right.
Recovery is a different thing. That's why recovery and the trans community, the recovery community, so many of our these communities that have been put down and shamed are the ones that are bringing the wake up call to the rest of the world right now. I mean, we are bringing the light because I don't care where you've been or where you are, you're important enough to stand up for. I wish this young lady the best. There are resources available. You know, keep out of that victim mode. It's easy to drop there because you feel wronged, and it's not saying that you're not wronged. But the fact is staying in that mentality, will it help you ultimately, or is it hurting you? Is it stopping you from seeing a bigger picture because you're only staring at this one thing? What do we know, Pamela? Some of our greatest blessings have come in behind our greatest tragedies.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
this too is no different. And I wish her well. And I thank you always for helping and being here, Mary, being such an advocate. Mary lost her daughter to overdose, and she has been very active in this community in our state in trying to change laws and get things changed. And again, this show, Transgender Mentor, Recovery Soul Food, we're going to talk about everything healing because it's that important. It's that important. So, for my trans youth, wherever you are in the world, don't let your hearts be heavy, burdened, and saddened by the things that are happening, especially if you live in Texas right now. If it's getting to be too much for you to watch this stuff on the news, to hear this stuff in the paper or in your surroundings, turn it off.
Yeah.
There's your choice. Turn it off. Keep that vision of yourself. Ask yourself, why is it so important? Make sure that you are not only trying to fix your physical, make sure you're going within. Go within and be healed from the inside out. That so much transition regret happens by this one statement: when I'm in my right body, I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to do this and this and this when I get in my right body. If you're saying that to yourself, go deeper. Go
You're
deeper.
so much more than your physical self.
Way more.
So
So
much
much
more.
more. So much more than that. For our trans adults, again, same advice: turn it off. If there's something you can do, turn up your love light and be a light in your world. Stand up, speak out, be an advocate. Sign up with different helplines like the Trevor Project. Sign up with the Trans Lifeline. See if you can do something with
Right.
this life that you're living and healing, especially for those coming up behind us. For all of my other beautiful cisgendered amazing human beings like Pamela, like Mary, like Tammy, do all you can where you are. You may not think that it's changing the world, but you, my friend, will be wrong, because when you change you, your light just continues to get brighter and brighter, and it shines out further and further and further and further, and you infect others with your beauty, your understanding, and your light. And as you light up, they light up. And before we know it, the world is lit up. That's what we're looking for. Healing
The
through
ripple effect.
understanding. That's right.
Yeah.
Want to heal through understanding. You know, the last thing I want to leave us with, Pamela, is when we feel fear
Hmm.
over things that we don't understand. If that happens in your life, what do you do? What is the first thing you do whenever you maybe feel fear or something? What's your go-to?
My first thing I do is try to step back from it. I try to look at the bigger picture. If I'm feeling fear, if I'm feeling anxiety, depression, anger, I step back. Where is this coming from? Look at, try to get a different perspective. It's easier said than done for sure, but you get used to it after you do that a couple times. You do that once or twice, and you say, "Wow, I was able to not, start that momentum of anger or fear or any of that by stepping back and looking where that came from." Or, what is my role in this? What can I do about it, if anything? If not, then it's not yours to, if you're feeling this about something somebody else did, what do you want from that? Are you expecting them to change for you? If you're not comfortable with it, and maybe, you need to realize that you need to adjust yourself and not
Mm.
expect other people to adjust themselves around you. Or if it's fear of any kind of change, if it's just something in your own life and doesn't involve somebody else, step back and try to figure out, where is that fear coming from, and what can I do to step away from that or step into that a little more, with a little more knowledge or a little more understanding of where that came from.
And ask, is it true? Many times I heard a
Yeah.
great quote today that says, that we often use the cliche, statement, fear we're afraid of the unknown, fear of the
Yeah.
unknown. And that person said, and it was so profound to me, we're not necessarily scared of the unknown, we're scared of what we think about the unknown,
Right.
because the unknown is just that, unknown. It's no thing.
Right.
What we're actually anxious about is what we are thinking is going to be on the other
Right.
side of that unknown. So all of what Pamela said is amazing. It's some of the same things I back up and try to do. And the only thing that I can add to that is to ask yourself, is this the truth?
Yeah.
Is this thought that I'm thinking negative,
Am I
fearful?
imagining the worst?
That's right. Is this true? When I feel like I'm not worthy or I'm not important, is that really true? Is it really true? Step back and think about other places and to people in your life that you are important to, and remind yourself and call out the lie. Don't be afraid to call out that lie that subconscious is telling you. And not, don't call your subconscious a liar. It is there for you. Embrace that. It's all part of you. It's what makes you wonderfully you. The duality of nature. We all have a dark side, we all have a light side. It's when we find balance between the two that we come
Hmm.
into a place of peace. But ask that voice, are you working off of past experience? And that past experience is what I feel about it, my perception of it. Is it true? My abuse, I often thought that there was something wrong with me, that this was all on me, and I felt guilty and shameful for many, many years about that, until I called out that lie, until I said to myself, this has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you, Lona. This has nothing to do with your body style, who you are, anything. Has everything to do with that predator, not me. Don't own something that does not belong to you. Don't take it upon you because you feel that lie welling up within you that's saying this is something wrong with you. So, for my trans youth, please remember that today. There's nothing wrong with you. Make sure before you step into something that is a very permanent situation. And in all reality, hormone blockers are not permanent. Transition surgery is not permanent. So, in all honesty, seek out your knowledge. Know what you're stepping into. Reach out for help. Get mentorship. Know what you're going to be walking into. Don't let it be a fairy tale. And call out the lies. There's nothing wrong with you. You are wonderfully and perfectly made. And you have every right to be here. So please, if you're feeling weak, if you're feeling like you need to um, if you like you need to reach out, and then utilize these lines that we have out here. We've got the National Suicide Hotline. Um, that's available right there. If you're trans Pacific, please use the Trans Lifeline 877-565-8860. Let me put this up also for our LGBTQIA plus line. Please call the Trevor Project 866-488-7386. Also, look at the trevorproject.org online. You can get their text line, their chat line, the same with the translifeline.org as well. Make sure you utilize those things. Reach out. What you seek, you'll find. Hey, Mary, I will give you a call tomorrow. I am so fixing to hit the bed. Got to work in the morning. But thanks everybody so much for being here tonight. I love each and every one of you. Pamela, you know you're one of my favorite humans on earth. So grateful to know you. So grateful that you're speaking out and standing and doing this for my community in every way: recovery, trans, LGBTQ plus, just the human race as a whole. And I thank you so much.
Thank
To
you.
everyone else, make sure that you join Pamela and myself again next Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for another amazing Sunday night soul session with the transgender mentor. And listen, to add, and this is a great for you, Mary, and you should give this advice to our friend. Check out hypnobreakthrough.com. Make sure you get in touch with Pamela Topjian. Tell her LC, Recovery Soul Food, and Transgender Mentor sent you, and you're going to get a free full session. That's the gift that Pamela is willing to give. So you get the consultation, 15-minute free session, and a full free session so that you can really get a grasp on how this could help you in your life. And it's amazing. I use Pamela as a hypnotherapist. My wife has used Pamela as a hypnotherapist. It's life changing. I believe in it completely and love it and love her. She's in her calling to do that. So, y'all make sure that you reach out to Pamela. And Pamela has many resources. So, don't let those things, those lies that
Yeah.
our subconscious tell us, hold you back from reaching out for something that can be life changing. Hey, Pamela, until next Sunday, I love you, and I can't wait to see you again. Everybody else, have an amazing week, and I hopefully will see you guys on Wednesday morning at 8, no, 7:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I'm at. Y'all have an amazing, amazing week, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.